welcome back to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. And I want to start the video by thanking our new subscribers and our returning subscribers. We really appreciate you guys. We don't take you for granted, and we thank you so much for watching our channel, our videos, liking our videos, commenting down below, and even taking your time to subscribe to this channel. We appreciate you a lot. And today's video, we are going to look at one of the person that has really contributed a lot to us knowing Jamaica in a very special way. And not even that, she has made us to know Jamaica in history, about the heroes of Jamaica and the controversy surrounding the heroes of Jamaica. And I'm going to talk about this controversy slightly. I'm not going to repeat what this lady talked about. And the lady I'm talking about is actually Irina. She has a YouTube channel that is called Jamaica by Irina. And she has done great work in Jamaica, making us to appreciate the great people of Jamaica, the power of Jamaica in terms of changing the lives of people, the healing power, the power in changing some of the things that her herself was facing when she was in Ukraine. She talks about 5 ways in which Jamaica changed her life. And not even that, she has talked about the independence of Jamaica and how the Jamaicans actually fought for their independence and how they attained independence. And not even that, she has come to a level whereby she has become a whistleblower to the Jamaican people. I remember I watched her video talking about the company in Jamaica that supplies electricity and the high bills in Jamaica. She has also talked about the cost of living in Jamaica and the high cost of living in Jamaica. All these combined together make us to understand Jamaica better, to know Jamaica better, and to make an informed decision, especially to the people that live in diaspora who would want to come back to Jamaica. And she has actually highlighted some of the people that have come from diaspora and have come to Jamaica. I watched her video with Winthrop channel, and this family, Winthrop family, came all the way from the United States of America and actually moved to Jamaica. What a blessing. All of us, we long to go to America. We long to stay in America. We long to spend the rest of our lives in America. And to see a person coming from America to Jamaica, it talks a lot about Jamaica and how Jamaica is variable and how Jamaica can transform people's lives and how Jamaica can make people settle in their own country instead of going to other countries, because she has shown us Jamaica is worth settling and worth living there. So I want to actually look at Irina and some of the things she has talked about Jamaica. And one of the videos that I enjoyed so much is about Paul Bogle. And I want to first highlight who was Paul Bogle. Paul Bogle is a person celebrated by all the Jamaicans as a hero. He is one of the heroes of the people of Jamaica. And he became a hero because Paul Bogle was actually a Jamaican Baptist deacon and activist, but he contributed a lot to fight for equality, fight for injustice, and fight against discrimination of the African Jamaican people. Do you know there are people in life who are born and they are selfless? Paul Bogle was one of them. He actually fought and led people to rebel against the colonial government who are discriminating them and oppressing the African Jamaican people. And it is said he led the last large-scale armed Jamaican rebellion that was ever held in Jamaica to fight against injustice and discrimination of the African Jamaican people. His face is actually on Jamaican $2 bill, and it is also on the 10-cent coin of Jamaica. This is a hero, a great person in Jamaica. And when something happens to him, or to his photo, or to his statue, everybody in Jamaica is concerned because he's a person who is respected. He's a person who is adored. He's a person who is actually a hero in Jamaica. And one of the visits, actually, when Shonaro went to Jamaica, we saw the statue of Paul Bogle in the Emancipation Park. I think it is also the park that is called the National Heroes Park. The Jamaicans in the house will tell us. And therefore, Paul Bogle is a great man in Jamaica. And I want to highlight that whether the statues that we see in the Emancipation Park and even in the Morant Bay Courthouse, they are not Paul Bogle statues. We respect Paul Bogle. We actually celebrate him as a hero who fought for the common person in Jamaica. And I want to go and highlight the controversy behind Paul Bogle statue and his photo. And I want to start by saying Paul Bogle actually led the rebellion, the Morant Bay Rebellion, in 1865. And he was later caught or captured by the Jamaican Maroons. I think some of the Jamaican Maroons were being used by the colonial government to capture their fellow Jamaican people. And therefore, Paul Bogle was actually captured, according to the information I got, was captured by the Jamaican Maroons and was tried and convicted by the colonial government and hanged on 24th October 1865 in the Morant Bay Courthouse. So he was actually hanged and killed by the colonial government for fighting for the equality of people, the injustice of the colonial masters, and the discrimination against the African Jamaican people. This is a hero, a great person, and anything that brings controversy about his photo, about his statue, gets attention of every person, not only in Jamaica, but in the whole world. And that is why I got interested to know why could a photo of Paul Bogle also appear in America as the photo of Thomas Jennings.
Hey everybody, listen, before we go, I want to remind you that it's Black History Month, and all month long we're highlighting folks who you may not be familiar with, but who have made a major contribution in the world that we live in today. Now, nearly 2 centuries ago, entrepreneur and businessman Thomas L. Jennings revolutionized the way we wash and care for our clothing. Born in New York City in 1791, Thomas picked up tailoring at a young age and went on to build a successful business of his own. But there were some challenges along the way. Because of the material used, certain garments simply couldn't be cleaned. Thomas was determined to figure out how to effectively clean garments in a way that would not damage them. So he developed a cleaning method that he called dry scouring. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because it's known today as dry cleaning. By doing this, Thomas...
And this is a very, very controversy story, because this photo of Thomas Jennings was actually used in media houses in America, and it was said it is the photo of Thomas Jennings, and yet the Jamaican people actually use it as the photo of Paul Bogle. And I want to say this is a very, very great deal. And most of the Jamaicans, actually when I was watching the video by Irina, I found that people were actually complaining a lot And they were asking, why did the Jamaican government not take the initiative to do the investigations and actually go to the archives and find out whether this photo was of Paul Bogle or Thomas Jennings? And therefore, I would want to understand the government of Jamaica, because one, the government of Jamaica maybe were reluctant to do the investigation because they are not historians. And I tend to think the people that would have taken the initiative to actually dig deep into this controversy were the historical people in Jamaica, and also the media houses in Jamaica would have taken the initiative to dig out the information about the statue of Paul Bogle and Thomas Jennings. But it took a person that was not a Jamaican to come and do investigation and actually go to the archives so that she can bring to light some of the issues that maybe were being doubted, or rather educate people on some of the things that they didn't know about photography in Jamaica and how the photography was handled and how these statues or photos were kept, and whether it is actually Paul Bogle's photo or statue or it is Thomas Jennings. And therefore, Irina did a great job, which I actually cannot do thoroughly like she did, to go to the National Archives of Jamaica and dig deep and do a lot of investigations about this photos controversy. But I want to highlight that when I was doing my own research about Paul Bogle, because I was interested, this is something that we should all be interested in, because this guy sacrificed his life to die because he was fighting for people, he was fighting for injustice, he was fighting for discrimination against the black, African, Jamaican people. And therefore, it is said that photography in Jamaica started being done around 1840s. So people started shooting photos in 1840s, and at this time, photography was very, very expensive. Most of the people could not afford, and I want to assure you, photography is not a priority when people are faced with poverty and a lot of struggles in life. And therefore, in 1840s, I'm sure very few people used to take photos in Jamaica. And then it is said it continued until 1860, when photography became slightly affordable. So not everybody could afford to be taken a photo around this time. And therefore, this is the time, remember, Nani, Sam Sharp, and Paul Bogle were actually in Jamaica. And therefore, it is most probably that they were not taken photo, or they were taken, because like I have told you, it was something that was very, very expensive. And for you to be taken a photo, of course, you had to sacrifice for it. Because at this time, when these people were living, the colonial masters were the rich ones. These people were slaves. And therefore, maybe most probably, they could not afford photography. But let us wait and see the information I also got about the photos and the statues of Paul Bogle. One of the controversy on Paul Bogle's statue was that of Edna Manry in 1965. It was said that Edna Manry actually made a statue of Paul Bogle, and it was placed at Morant Bay Courthouse, where key events of the Morant Bay Rebellion took place. So actually Edna was placing this statue here in memory of Paul Bogle and the rebellion he led at Morant Bay Courthouse. And therefore, the statue was placed here. And it brought a lot of argument and a lot of controversy, and it was removed and taken for storage at the National Heritage Trust. there were two statues of different version. The other statue, half-body bronze version statue, remained for view in the Morant Bay Rebellion Shrine at National Heroes Park. And I tend to think this is the statue that we see at Emancipation Park. The Jamaicans in the house can confirm whether the National Heroes Park is actually close to the Emancipation Park or it is still the Emancipation Park. Because we saw this statue of Paul Bogle when Shonarwa visited the Emancipation Park. I think there is the National Heroes Park and then there is the Emancipation statues that we saw of a man and a woman. So it was placed there. And there is a baby crying, sorry for that. So the Morant Bay version of the statue was actually very, very controversial, like I have said earlier. From the moment it was unveiled, it was controversial for several reasons. And these are some of the reasons why it was controversial. Remember that this is a statue that was made by Irina. It was said it was more artistic impression and not a traditional likeness. Remember, the Jamaicans are historical people and they would want to remember the traditions of these heroes. But this statue was more like artistic impression rather than traditional likeness of what the Jamaican people would want to watch. So that is one of the reasons it brought a lot of controversy. The other reason is that the other reason for the controversy was that its symbolic iconography represented Bogle as a warrior. It was showing Bogle as a warrior, failed to resonate with many people. So many people could not associate with Bogle being a warrior. It had Bogle holding a machete, which was actually very, very controversial because most of the Jamaican people in those days were not actually carrying a machete according to the information I got. And therefore people argued, why should this statue be drawn or be made with Paul Bogle as a warrior and with a machete? A known Rastafarian, self-taught painter and politician, Sam Brown, in 1965, wrote a letter to the Greener questioning Edna Mandry's suitability, being a light-skinned foreigner, and then comes to draw or rather to make a statue of a black man, Paul Bogle. So according to Sam Brown, this statue was actually not to be made by a white person who is actually a foreigner, a visitor, and not a Jamaican who does not know much about the history of Jamaica. And therefore, according to Sam, he questioned why Edna should make the statue. And he actually said, why should Edna actually determine how Bogle should be represented, and yet she was a foreigner, she's not from Jamaica, and she has little knowledge of the history of Jamaica. Paul Bogle statue depicts a fear-ridden and hunted and a sized field slave about to invoke the master's pardon for being a truant. So according to some, this is what the statue portrayed. A very miserable man who is actually about to ask the master for mercy for being a truant. But that was not what Paul Bogle stood for. And therefore some questioned about this statue, and he was adamant to accept the statue as that of Paul Bogle. And therefore, he concluded, according to some, he concluded it takes a black mind to comprehend dignity, fear, or courage in the statue of a black man. To him, it would take a black man to understand another black man and the suffering and how they would want the black man to be represented. And therefore, he questioned why Edna, as a light-skinned woman, could actually bring a representation of Paul Bogle in the statue. So the statue was termed an insult, for the only picture recognized was that in the $2 bill, because it was actually thought to be the statue of Paul Bogle. In the $2 bill of Jamaica, there is the photo of Paul Bogle, and this is what people termed, or rather recognized, rather than recognize the statue that was kept at Morant Bay Courthouse. It was also said that no one knew Bogle dressing the way the statue in Morant Bay portrayed. So the way the statue portrayed about the clothing of Bogle, also people complained about it and they were unsatisfied about it. The other issue was Bogle carrying a machete was actually doubted because most of the Jamaicans those days were not carrying the machete, and therefore people questioned about this. It was also said the people of St. Thomas were in a better state to actually draw the statue of Paul Bogle because this is where he was born, and the people of St. Thomas were very well versed with the history of the people that came from there. And therefore they were in a better position to represent Paul Bogle in a statue. The statue had no shoes or shirt or no surface and had been put in many shopping plazas and commercial establishments. So people wondered why this statue was actually drawn to portray poverty. A man stricken with poverty, without shoes, without shirt, without all what people are complaining about. It was said it was lack of respect to Paul Bogle and to Jamaicans. It portrayed poverty of a black man, which was actually disagreed. The photo of Paul Bogle was discovered, or rather, the real photo now, the one we see in the Emancipation Park and everywhere else. That photo of Paul Bogle was discovered by H.G. Giville, who was a member of Jamaican Historical Society. And these are the people I'm saying, they would have investigated about this statue of Paul Bogle and the photo of Paul Bogle and bring up the real photo, and had retrieved it from Mr. Ruben. So this photo now, that of Paul Bogle, was got from this guy who was from the Jamaican Historical Society, and he was being called W.G. Ogive. And therefore he retrieved the photo from Mr. Ruben Ewen of St. Thomas. Remember that we said St. Thomas is where Paul Bogle was born, and therefore this guy, Ruben, is the one, this man called, W.G. got this photo from Mr. Ruben, who was from St. Thomas, Spring Gardens. And this Mr. Ruben was actually the grandmother, whose grandmother, Mr. Ruben's grandmother, was a niece of Paul Bogle. So it is most probably the photo belonged to Paul Bogle because these are relatives of Paul Bogle, and the photo was retrieved from them by this guy called W.G. And therefore the family kept the photo as a portrait, and it was taken from them, and it was considered as Paul Bogle's photo. But is it truly Paul Bogle's photo? To some, they say the photo portrayed that this was a younger man than Paul Bogle, and many believe maybe it was a younger relative of Paul Bogle and not actually the photo of Paul Bogle. But like I said, it doesn't matter the photo, it doesn't matter the statue. What matters is that we respect Paul Bogle, we celebrate him, We recognize him as a hero, and everybody does that in Jamaica, and they are celebrated every year as the heroes of Jamaica who fought for the Jamaican people when they were being oppressed, when they were being discriminated, when they were being shown injustice. And therefore, Irina has done a great job to tell us about this photo and a lot of investigations to bring us to right a lot of things that were happening in Jamaica. The other thing is about electricity in Jamaica. Irina has actually gone to the depth of doing investigation, how the bills of Jamaica comes to be. And there is a lot of doubts about the bills, the high bills of Jamaican company that actually supplies electricity. Because in one of the statements, Irina explained that in one of the houses, people are not living, and yet it had a bill. And therefore, she has actually helped the people of Jamaica to come to terms with the kind of people who are serving them, and they can now start highlighting some of the things which are being done, which are not right to the people of Jamaica. And therefore, I salute Irina for the great work she's doing to the people of Jamaica and the great work she's doing to us to make us know Jamaica in a special way, to make us celebrate Jamaica in a special way, and to make us recognize the many things about Jamaica. We have seen some sites in Jamaica through her that have never been visited by tourists. The great, or rather the old historical houses of Jamaica. I have come to learn myself a lot about Jamaica, the historical sites that maybe we don't learn from the people who tour Jamaica, but she has taken the initiative to teach us about some of the things in Jamaica. And therefore, today's video, I salute her and I celebrate her. And now this will be the end of the video. Thank you for watching us. Bye-bye. See you and God bless.